Hello, teachers, and very warm welcome to our Facebook Live coming to you from the British Council Teaching English Facebook page. Today, I am joined by Aidan, who is sitting right here, and we are going to talk about assessment frameworks. Now, Aidan is a bit of an expert on this and has studied quite a lot and is able to talk about it to teachers, to teacher educators, and to academics. So we're in very, very good hands and very lucky to have you here with us today, Aidan. Welcome.
Thanks, Karen. That's an amazing introduction. Very, very happy to be here.
Aidan, whereabouts are you right now?
So I'm in my living room in Madrid.
Oh, not too far from me. So we're talking about assessment frameworks, and I know you have a wealth of knowledge around assessment frameworks and studied them, but let's start by saying, what is it?
Well, very basically put, an assessment framework provides a common language to talk about language, about language. It gives us a kind of a dictionary or a set of levels so that we can all be on the same page when we're discussing when we're deciding whether a student's, say, elementary level, intermediate level, or advanced level. That would probably be kind of a good basic way of saying it.
We've got a comment here already from Hira Jamal saying assessment frameworks provide common language.
Ah, great. Well, we're on the same page as well. Already.
Excellent. So welcome, everybody. We're talking about assessment frameworks. And teachers watching, have you heard of an assessment framework? Do you use one? If you have, let us know in the comments. So you were talking, Aidan, saying that it's a common language to talk about levels of language. Is that to do with grading, or can you give an example?
Yeah, sure. Well, the CEFR, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, is an example of a framework that splits language up into 6 different levels, into the A levels, A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, and they correspond more or less to elementary, intermediate, and advanced, A, B, C. So an assessment framework could be used by many different groups of people. So it could be used by a group of syllabus designers or materials writers to define the levels in their course. It could be used to inform those levels. It could be used by a group of teachers if they're teaching, say, an intermediate. If they're given an intermediate level, but then that intermediate level is not being defined for them, they can use the descriptors in the framework for, say, B1, and that would help them evaluate students' performance and receptive skills. Or it could be used by an examining body to write an exam.
So lots of different people use a framework. So we've got teachers. I'm going to tell you where teachers are watching from. We've got welcome to Bode in Algeria, and we have where's that? Karim is also in Algeria, and we've got quite a few teachers in Algeria, and we have Juanita from Mexico and Raluca from Romania, and we have the Philippines. Tessa Tita is here from the Philippines. So welcome everybody to our Facebook Live on assessment frameworks. Now it sounds quite a kind of complicated word, assessment framework. And Aidan is here to help us really understand what it is. So teachers watching, how do you grade your students? Is it elementary? Is it A? Is it B? Is it pre-intermediate? Aidan, what other words do teachers use to talk about different levels?
Well, I guess that's, as I was saying earlier, examining boards can use a framework such as the CEFR to help them define the construct for their test. So a construct is the skills and abilities that a test is testing. And those skills and abilities will be demonstrated at different levels of proficiency. So the descriptors in a framework such as the CEFR would be used to define those different levels of proficiency. Let's take a well-known British Council test. I suppose everyone would know IELTS. IELTS defines that on a number system. So from 1, which would be the first level, and a very basic level, A1, showing the ability to talk about very basic ideas, personal, situational, going up to level 9, which would be similar, which would be a level of proficiency well capable of dealing with native speaker like talk.
Okay. We've got a comment here from Marianne who says that she uses in her context words like elementary, intermediate, advanced, which I guess is also quite common. But the problem with that, isn't it, is that we all have a slightly different interpretation of what elementary means or what advanced means. So what's the problem with that?
Well, I think that's the whole issue with the area of assessment. And when I say assessment, it's probably worth mentioning that a test is a form of assessment, but an assessment is not always a test. And
it's like one of those riddles.
Yeah. So there's many different forms of assessment. Teachers might use assessment for helping students to learn in the class, or they might use an assessment to report back on or giving a snapshot of progress at the end of a course. Okay. So what was the question again?
Like if you say elementary, you might in your head have a completely different idea of what that student can do than my elementary idea.
Exactly. So in assessment in general, it's very important to mitigate subjectivity. So we would very likely have two different perspectives on what elementary is.
Okay.
And we might even focus on different things within that. So you might focus more on a student's ability to organize and be coherent, to express their ideas, but I might focus more on grammar.
Yes.
So it's very important to have a more holistic view of language, and one in which subjectivity of assessment is being mitigated. So that if you're working at the same school and you go from one year to the next, or a teacher covers, that both teachers are going to be giving you similar feedback because their expectations of you are the same. And it's the same with tests. They need to be, however they define their system of levels, if it's been aligned to a framework, a common framework, those systems of levels should more or less be able to be mapped to each other.
So like you were saying earlier, we're all speaking the same language. So for example, I'm learning Catalan and you speak two languages, do you? You speak one well and one you're learning.
I speak English.
Oh, apart from English.
I'm C2 in Spanish, so I've been living here for quite a while. It's been a while since I spoke Italian, but I'd probably be B2 in Italian.
Wow.
B2, C1. And I'm learning Russian at the moment. I'm A1, maybe not even A1 yet. So.
And I have just done, in June, I did an exam and I am A2 in Catalan. So just that little dialogue that we are having, I know when you say C2, in my mind, I'm like, I know what that means because I've looked at the CEFR levels. And I think Marcus has a link in the comments around what those are. And they define abilities at each level?
Skills and abilities. And I think you've helped me to prepare a few examples here.
I have, yes.
Okay,
let's get the examples up. Do you want the first one? This one?
So a very simple, this would be a typical phrase that an A1 student would be able to say, right from probably the beginning of A1. In most languages, I've learned this recently in Russian. It would can be, the student might pause even saying this simple phrase. They may mispronounce even the words, and the listener, you, and if you were Russian and I was saying Russian, you might be helpful to me and you'd repeat how to say it correctly. As we progress on to an A2 level, A2 still beginner level. What was the second? I like to drink coffee every day. Here it's probably, there's a lot more to A1 and A2 than this, but we can, some of the things that we might do here are, an A2 learner would be able to say this with a greater level of fluency. They wouldn't have to think so much about it. However, there may still be pauses. You can start to expand and start to show little bits of fluency within your speech.
And Aidan, is it also to do with a receptive skill? So for example, if we go back to the first one, there it is. If we go back to the first one, I can say this in Catalan and I can also understand it.
Yeah.
So is it both ways?
Well, you should be able to say the second one in Catalan.
I can. You can. And I can understand it too.
Well, there you go. You can. If I'm thinking about Russian, I'd struggle still.
Okay.
I'd probably need it repeated. It would probably have to be said slowly. I'd probably have to be thinking about it. It's this level of self-monitoring that you have at A1. You're probably thinking about everything. And if the more different the language is from the languages that you speak, the longer it would take to process. So the more impediments there. With Catalan, you're using the same alphabet. With Russian, you're using a different alphabet. So you're having to process the letter sound combinations as well if you may be reading it.
Wow, so that also, we've got teachers watching from Kazakhstan who also use the Cyrillic alphabet. Yeah. So maybe have students learning English, so it's taking longer because of that mismatch between the alphabet. But what about the grammar? Does that have an impact as well? If the grammar is quite different, like Russian has all the conjugations.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm probably thinking about Spanish here, but in Spanish grammar definitely is way more complex than English at the beginning. So yeah, just having to remember all of those verb endings, and then all of the verb endings that change in all the different tenses that they've got. At least from what I've learned from Russian, that it's not as complex in that respect. But then the noun declinations are more tricky.
Even just that word sounds terrifying.
Yeah. So yeah, the grammar, the different language can be divided into 4 areas as well. So to be communicatively competent in a language, you need grammatical and lexical proficiency, which everyone knows, and sometimes we give too much importance to. Socio-linguistic proficiency, so the ability to understand what's appropriate in any situation.
Interesting.
Also, the ability to structure what you're saying, to be coherent and cohesive. So if I'm giving a lecture, I'll use clear discourse markers to structure what I'm saying. And also, and very important for second language learners, strategic competence.
Oh, what's that?
So it's kind of saying, if I don't know how to say a certain word in the foreign language, if I don't know the exact word, I have the strategy to work around it. Circumlocution.
Yes, I remember doing this in some of my classes, like teaching students, it's a thing like, or it's a thing for, or you use it for this, or it's next to this thing, what's it called? So all of that language to sort of, get you over an obstacle.
Exactly. So the more different all of those things are in the other language from your languages, the longer it's going to take to learn them.
Right. So we've got a comment here from I think it's from Hela Mueli, who's saying the impact of first language on the target one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And culture as well, because I don't know how you feel living in Spain, but Spain's a much more extrovert culture than British.
And Catalan is a very much more direct language. Sometimes I want to say, would you mind, or I would quite like this, and my friends are saying, give me a coffee.
Exactly. Yeah.
Bring me a coffee
Or,
now.
or everyone's talking at the same time, and you don't want to be impolite, and you don't want to interrupt.
Yes, exactly. So we've got a couple of questions here. This one's from Vodoy Ka. This is like CEFR and Global English Scale. So yes, we're talking about the CEFR. Global English Scale, I haven't heard. Have you heard of that?
Is that I think the framework I work mostly with is the CEFR.
Yeah,
The Global English Scale sounds like a framework.
it does.
And any the idea with the framework, and maybe we could talk about the comprehensive learning system here.
Yes. Oh, is that the image?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. There we go.
Educate.
There you
Okay,
go.
so we look at this. This represents a learning system, and a learning system can be a private class. It could be a primary school. It could be the education system, the secondary education system of France. So it can work on many different levels.
Okay.
But in any education system, we've got three main elements. So we've got the people that write the materials, the curriculum, the people that deliver, the teachers, and the people who design the assessments within the materials that the teachers use. And they're usually assessment researchers. So it's really important for all of those three elements to be aligned around similar standards. And that could be the Global English Scale, if that's a framework, or it could be the CEFR.
So the framework sort of holds everybody together with that common language, and they're all referring to the same scale and what
Exactly.
everybody can do at each of those stages of a scale.
Exactly. So
Okay.
maybe they want to teach just a speaking course. So they might want to say, let's get the curriculum writers together with the teachers and the assessment specialists. And let's use the CEFR to say, what exactly do we want our speaking skills and abilities to be? And what are going to be the levels of progress within our course? And then we could pick the descriptors out of the framework and inform the materials that would hopefully have been written with into which the assessment would slot in, and to which the teachers would then understand how they're using it.
Does that happen?
No. Not so I think kind of I've been teaching since 2004. Quite a long time.
It's okay. You're new compared to me.
In that time, I think looking back on it, the roots of all my frustrations in teaching and all of the times where I just wanted to give up was the lack of coherency in the education system that I was within, including my own private classes. So not having defined the skill and ability enough, and then working with materials who had been put together with an assessment system that was incongruent, and then not having even been told about how to use that assessment system as a teacher creates a lot of frustration on teachers' parts.
Yeah.
And now, as I've moved into academic management of a teaching centre, and then I manage the secondary courses in the British Council of Spain teaching centres, and now I'm working in the global assessments team, so advising governments and universities on how to be more coherent and how to construct better education systems. There are a lot of incoherencies through the very simple reason that people aren't talking to each other.
So what would be helpful for teachers is to sort of understand what would be helpful for teachers to know more about, because there isn't really a quick solution.
There's no quick solution, and
Sadly.
sadly, unfortunately, it's the teachers that feel the repercussions of this the most, because they're the ones in the class. They're the ones whose students are frustrated when they don't see progress. So the first thing is it's not you. It's the system in general, and it's the system in many different countries around the world. What you can do is get together with other groups of teachers. Are there any frameworks that are important in your system? Read them. Have a go at sitting down and reading. Unfortunately, they're academic documents that are most likely written by testing experts. So
with big words.
With lots of big words and not very friendly. So, but once you get past that, there are some really useful definitions for language within them that you could think about using to inform your teaching. And by informing your teaching, meaning defining, maybe you just want to focus on speaking. It's a very useful skill in communicative language teaching. You've been given your system of levels. You can help map some of the descriptors onto those system of levels, and then thinking about them when you're planning your lesson objectives. And even that very simple task can make teaching seem more purposeful.
So could we take an example like some of the sentence that we looked at earlier with like A1 and A2?
Yeah.
I'll just bring the A2 one up again.
Good.
Or I'll use the next one. This was the other one. So let's say you want your students to, what level is this? This is past tense.
I8. Well, I mean, it could be defining the difference between A1 and A2. There's going to be an element of automatization. So an A1 level learner would struggle with, especially at the beginning, would struggle with, might have covered the past, but obviously hasn't automatized it. There's a difference between learning and automatizing a word and the chunk of language. They're very good. They're very much going to be focused on the word level, where level A2 are going to be starting to bring words together and access them with a greater level of ease. So, yeah.
So if we were looking at like you were saying earlier about a teacher sort of understanding some of the frameworks in order to be able to write, sort of plan some lessons guiding towards that. So if we were looking at that, today I ate toast, or this morning I ate toast, knowing that isn't a level ability at a certain level will enable the teacher to say, okay, I'm going to design activities to help my students reach that point.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, but let's take the example of fluency.
Okay.
So with an A1 level learner, you can have what you did yesterday for both A1 and A2. But with A1, you're very much going to focus on helping them automatize the words. So there's going to be more individual word focus at the beginning of the lesson. Maybe got up at 9, had a shower, ate some toast, went to the gym, went to the office, and you're having your lexical chunks at the beginning, lots of repetition. Then that leads into a communicative activity. And then you give feedback and maybe they repeat again. So lots of repetition, lots of support. Whereas an A2 learner might already have a certain degree of fluency with those words, but they might be reverting back to the present without thinking about it. So you might set them up as three tasks in which you already require them to do more. So you may already require the A2 learner to do the mid task for the A1 lesson at the beginning. And then you're going to be focused more on their grammatical accuracy, for example, or their ability to form past tense questions. So you're increasing the complexity, and you're giving them a bit more. You're pushing them to be a bit more autonomous with the language. Where an A1 learner really struggles to be autonomous with the language, they really need the structural support all the time.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like me. And when I was A1, needing a lot of structural support at the beginning and really struggling with getting more fluent.
Yeah, A1 students tend to attach themselves to the teacher in a very like the A1 classes I've taught, become very attached to their teacher.
Well, the teacher is the lifeline, the link to the guiding you through the language.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if the teacher goes away, they stop.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the A2 learner is starting to walk.
Interesting. So we've got comments coming in. I'm just going to go through some of these. We've got a teacher trainer and curriculum designer watching us, Voiduika, who says, as a curriculum designer and teacher trainer, this is powerful. It's the first time that they've heard of this, and it's great. The same person has just looked at scenario. I'm not sure what that is, but said it's like a snapshot of communication reality. Teachers not only understand what language is used, they can think how to design activities and assessment around that scenario. So what you were talking about earlier, knowing the abilities of students at certain levels and the skills, like you were mentioning, can help teachers design activities towards that.
Yeah.
And we've got another one from Tejendra. Assessment of English in our context is based on integrated outcomes of listening, speaking, reading, writing, and grammar. Yeah, interesting. I thought it was quite interesting what you were saying earlier about, I think, please do.
Frameworks, the CEFR doesn't define, so let's make the distinction between language systems and language skills.
Okay.
So skills, speaking, listening, reading, writing, acquired, learned. And then systems, grammatical, lexical, phonological, discourse. All of the systems are used in the skills, and the CEFR doesn't define the systems on their own.
Okay, I think this is quite massive.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, if your curriculum, look, many curriculums are still based on grammar, so they're based on systems. It's like focusing on the bricks in the wall rather than the purpose of the wall, what the wall's being used for.
Okay, because so the grammar and the sentence structure as a sentence can do many, many things. Like it can be for nuanced conversations, or it can be for different functions. Is that
exactly? So
right?
if I say it's hot in here, I probably don't want you to say, "Oh, good." I want you to maybe close the window.
Okay, so this is an example I have with my husband. He's learnt now over the years, but when I say, "Can you put the kettle on?"
Yeah, you don't want the kettle on, you want a cup of tea.
That's what he did. He went to put the kettle on, and I'm like, "Where's my tea?" And he's like, "But you didn't ask for tea."
Yeah. So if we focus too much on the grammar, we're never going to get the pragmatic meaning of utterances. And the pragmatic meaning of "it's hot in here," or "can you put the kettle on?" is open the window or make me a cup of tea.
Yes. So that means that teachers need to also teach the pragmatic meaning as well as the literal, or the words, the bricks mean.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And frameworks like the CEFR do that. So we should be very much following the leader frameworks who don't assign too much importance, who don't make grammar a separate entity, but integrate it into everything.
Okay. Wow. I think I'm just like, I'm going to be looking at my lessons quite differently. We've got a comment here from Nancy who says, great insight. Sometimes we don't focus on these differences while in classes, and we do need to help them at their appropriate level of development. Thank you for reminding me about this. And we've got another comment here from Min. Developing an effective and consistent assessment framework is such a dilemma for teachers.
Well, I mean, I would would she be developing the framework herself?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I think you sort of using these frameworks can be a little confusing, especially like you just mentioned, that a lot of the time we're trained in language is grammar and words. Yeah. And we've got one here from Ulita who's saying, we really need a webinar on this, please. Hint, hint. We'll see what we can do. Well, my goodness, Aidan, the time has flown by. We didn't even get to our next level example sentences, but no matter.
Next time.
Next time.
Yeah.
You've already agreed to do another one if you still want to.
Yes, that would be,
and it
that's a
seems
pleasure.
like there's quite seems like there's quite a demand. I've just got another comment here saying that's the problem with hubbies everywhere. Get to the point and ask for tea. I think there's lots of people who have the same thing. Pragmatic meaning. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and especially thank you, Aidan, for explaining and unpicking quite a difficult, massive topic and helping us all to understand.
It's been a pleasure. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good, and I hope your voice gets a bit better soon too.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for joining us, everybody, and stay tuned for more over the coming days and weeks. Bye.